Hey YouTube, I'm back with another video and welcome to 2022. What better way to celebrate 2022 with some 2021 pickups? Yeah, we got to round out the last year before we dive into the next one. Anyway, so there's a mixture of stuff here from Christmas and before Christmas. So I'm going to do the before Christmas stuff first. First up, we have a figure. This was from GameStop. Yeah, Joanna Dark. Big fan of Perfect Dark on the N64. And unlike these are kind of like, I guess, they're Tutaku ones. I got one in another package makeups video. They're not amiibos, but they're kind of like amiibos. I just don't have the NFC. But I prefer the packaging because you can open them more conveniently and they are flat for stacking. Now, that wasn't always the case with these Tutaku figures, but these ones, I think I had a Lara Croft one, don't know where it is, were like this. This is the way, if you're going to make these collectible figures, make them like this so you can stare them on the shelf and you don't necessarily need to open them. Amiibo boxes drive me nuts. Anyway, next up is some games. I had a one for all voucher, which are basically like these kind of prepaid voucher things. 150 quid, and they were going out of date, so I went to Argos and I got a bunch of games and some stuff. So first up was Luigi's Mansion 3. Actually, this got great reviews, so I'm really interested to try this out because I do like Luigi's Mansion 1. Never played 2, so you know, I want to jump back into the series with this one. Pokemon Sword, like the Pokemon game, so I'm definitely eager to try this out to see kind of what the Switch take on Pokemon can be. You might notice the sticker on it because these are all from Argos, as I said. Argos Distribution Centre, Ashbourne Retail Park, Ashbourne could be. That's not where these came from. So obviously there was a bit of a change there. And then finally we have Super Mario Maker 2. I enjoyed Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. I thought it made great use of the kind of the gamepad, and there was some nice kind of levels that people made, and I tried out some kind of stuff, you know, online, and I kind of had my fill. I kind of felt, which is why I didn't jump into this. But with the vouchers, I said, what the hell, not, you know, 47 quid, I'll pick them up. As I said, it was going to date, and that was 47, so I had a little bit of money left over, so I got this fella here, Link from the Wind Waker, a little plushie. I hadn't seen this before, so yeah, I was glad to kind of pick this up. Apparently he's a choking hazard, so he's choking in this bag, I guess. But he can stay there for now. I like the Wind Waker. I like the Wind Waker Link, despite all the controversy that surrounded him at the time. Next up, then, we have the big item, I guess, to be honest, for the end of the year. Was the Nintendo Switch OLED model. I had this pre-ordered like in the summer when it went on sale. I had obviously a launch day Switch. Very happy to still have it. I didn't trade it in or anything like that. But I was kind of getting to a stage where I was like, you know, I wouldn't mind a second Switch. Just because I was moving it between rooms and having to move the dock and set it up and all that sort of stuff. And I said, yeah, if you get an official dock with cables and everything for 50 quid, that might have done. But you can't. You can only get third-party ones. And I wasn't too keen on that. So I said, you know what, I don't mind getting a second one anyway, because there's no harm in having one with a better screen and more memory and a better stand. And yeah, it's definitely nice. It has the LAN cable too, which is a nice option. Although I tweeted this, the actual dock, while it probably is better from an aesthetic perspective and having the LAN is good, the back no longer has a hinge that, you know, stays together. It just kind of flops apart. It comes across quite cheap, which is odd given that they're kind of positioning this as more of a premium Switch. Anyway, look, the screen is great on this. The speakers do seem a little bit better. More memory. If you want to switch today, this is definitely the best one to get. So that's the kind of system. But at the same stage as getting the system, I got this, an empty box. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. I was looking. Where's the controller? It's a Nintendo 64 controller for the Switch. I love the Nintendo 64. After the Sega Master System, it's the system that I would have the greatest kind of nostalgic memories. Maybe it might even surpass that, to be honest with you. You know, games like Mario 64, GoldenEye, Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Perfect Dark, Banjo, all these things I played so long playing them, love them. And yeah, there's a lot of questions on, is the NSO worth it? You know, because they really jumped the price up. And part of that is with the Animal Crossing kind of expansion included. I don't have Animal Crossing. I'm not that into Animal Crossing. Not really much value to me. But to be honest, I just couldn't resist it for the N64 controller, if nothing else. I wanted to try the thing out, and it is definitely a nice controller. It feels nice to have a bit of weight here because it's have a rumble pack in it, so it kind of feels like the official controller when you had the rumble pack in it. I would love to do some proper tests with my N64 and kind of do side-by-side comparison, but to be honest, my original N64 controllers, they were starting to get worn, especially my blue one. I was starting, you could feel that moving left wasn't. I didn't have a full throw on it, so anything to kind of take the strain off my original controllers is good. These are Joy-Cons, so to be honest, these will probably wear, which is actually why I have a second one that's completely boxed up and has, like, this is the shipping box. I haven't even opened it. And speaking of shipping, this is surprisingly difficult to get in Ireland. Normally, Ireland is, falls under the Nintendo UK services. So if you go online, you go to this online store, it'll be via Nintendo UK, then it'll change the prices into euro and you can buy stuff there. That's all well and good. But this, they wouldn't ship because, they wouldn't ship outside of the UK now due to Brexit. So even though technically Ireland falls under Nintendo UK in terms of distribution for a lot of their stuff, I had to go to Nintendo France to pay for this. And then it was shipped from Nintendo Germany. So I don't know, it's a miracle that I ever got this. So I was like, I'm getting two, making sure I get them. And thank God for Google Translate, so I could actually understand what the hell I was buying. And funny enough, when I was buying it, because I was buying in France, I actually got my bank contacted me to say, there's a strange transaction on your credit card. Do you okay this? And I was like, yeah, that's me trying to buy a Nintendo 64 controller. What nerds will do, for their controllers. Anyway, that was the pre-Christmas stuff. The Christmas stuff, then, there's one big item here, which is gaming related, but of course it's not a game, so I'll go through this first, and I don't know how well this will come across on camera. It is the Lego Super Mario 64 set. So it ties into the N64 controller. This is a great set. Actually, I think I preferred this set than the NES NES deck and television that they released last year. I just like the mechanism of the cube a lot better, even though there was no cube. There was no question mark block in Super Mario 64. It was the cap blocks, and they acknowledged that in the controller. I also find it a little disappointing that they left the bottom exposed, which I guess you can see the mechanisms, which is kind of cool. It does work quite nicely. I can't remember now how I do this. Yeah, so on one side you have this here. It kind of slides up, and you have Bowser in here, and he's folded over. And you press him down, and this thing opens up, and you can spin Bowser around. And then on this side here, is this the one? Yeah. So you open this down, and then this flips up. Whoop. Out you come. That closes down, and you can just pop that down and spring loaded the rest of them. So you got the 3 different levels and stuff. So you got Cool Mountain, outside the castle. You got an inside the castle piece. You got Little Lava Land, a Bob-on Battlefield. Lots of nice little touches and lots of nice little details. So yeah, I really enjoyed building this set. It was it kind of captured the essence, I felt, of Mario 64 really well, which is an odd thing for a question mark box. Anyway, that was a great present, great set. A bit pricey as Lego often is, but anyway. So I'm going to continue on the Nintendo vibe first and finish that off because so far this has basically all been Nintendo. So Christmas games. We have Let's Go Pokemon Eevee Edition. This was the first kind of Pokemon game. It's a remake of Red and Blue, Green, whichever color you want. I had tried a demo. I wasn't too sure about this, to be honest, because I largely play with the Pro Controller. So I was like, this is played with with one Joy-Con. The weirdest thing for me is that you don't battle wild Pokemon. You just throw balls and try to catch them and all that sort of stuff. So the way the experience is done is a little different. You get experience from catching, so you're constantly catching Pokemon. It's to tie in a little bit to the feel of Pokemon Go and mobile, and I can see what they're trying to do. I can see that this acts as a bridge almost between the more traditional games and Pokemon Go. I'm nearly halfway through. I've completed the first 3 gyms. Getting close to the 4th one, I think. I'm in Lavender Town anyway. So yeah, I played Pokemon Red a ton back in the day. Loved it. So I'm definitely enjoying this from the kind of nostalgic perspective, even if it is a little different. I'm really surprised that they'd split. Your rival in Pokemon games, you always have a rival, and your rival was Professor Oak's grandson type of thing, and Gary or Blue, whatever you call him. So you meet this guy at the beginning, and I thought, oh, this is this must be Gary. So I named him Gary, but it turns out it's not. You meet Blue, which is the grandson later on, and so okay, they split him out. And there's less of this kind of obnoxious jerk thing going on. But to be honest, I kind of liked that he was an obnoxious jerk because it kind of furthered your motivation to beat him. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. So next up is a kind of Ubisoft game that's what I would call their answer to God of War, maybe not God of War, Breath of the Wild, but via Assassin's Creed. In fact, on the back they specifically mentioned from the creators of Assassin's Creed. I personally prefer the original title, Immortal Phoenix Rising. I think this was like Of Gods and Monsters or something like that originally, and I like that title. But apparently the Monsters Energy Drink Company got in the way of it, so they had to change this to a more the name. Anyway, I like Assassin's Creed. Well, I wasn't the biggest fan of Breath of the Wild. I did like Breath of the Wild, so I'm looking forward to trying that. And the biggie then, I suppose, in terms of recent releases, is Metroid Dread. And I do want to get into this probably after Let's Go Pokemon thing. I'm not the biggest Metroid fan, but the Metroid games I've gotten into, 1, Zero Mission, well, they were really good. And I kind of like Fusion, actually. I have liked them. I'm not great at them. I certainly can't do all the kind of shine spark techniques and speedrun and stuff, but they're definitely enjoyable. I'm kind of expecting this to be brutal. I've seen some of the bosses and stuff can be quite hard, and I'm not great at these things, so I'm expecting to dial off. But yeah, it got great reviews. It seems to have, performed really well as well by a 2D Metroid standard. So yeah, looking forward to trying that too. Anyway, that, as I said, is the Nintendo stuff. Plenty of goodness there to keep me going. 6 games, Jesus, it'll be well next year before I get to play them all. Next up is some PlayStation 4 stuff. And I'll go through, I suppose the biggest one, the only non kind of classic one, is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, when I first noticed this, just Remake here, on the spine Remake, you really have to read it here. Before, at the bottom here, it says, this story is the first standalone game in the Final Fantasy Remake project and covers up to the escape from Midgar. If you didn't read that bit, it's not obvious from the cover that this does not remake the full Final Fantasy VII experience. And to be honest, I could see a lot of people being kind of lapsed, gamers that, like, Final Fantasy VII, for a lot of people, was the game that got them into the series and maybe the one that they played, that's all. Say, oh, I love that. I mean, I've only really played 2 Final Fantasy games. One was Final Fantasy VII, which I completed, got everything in it. I played a decent bit of 8, and actually I played a bit of 3 as well on the DS. So I could totally see myself kind of going, and that's kind of why I did want this. It was like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy VII. I want to give that a go and see what they've done, and it reviewed well. I knew myself going into it this was only part 1, but it just feels a little like, frankly, you should be slapping part 1 on the cover. But if they did, people wouldn't have bought it as much. Still, I'm looking forward to it. I knew what I was getting into. Anyway, the next are all classics, I guess you could say, for the system. PlayStation hits Uncharted, Nathan Drake Collection, so Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. I've played Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously on the PlayStation 3, so I want, glad to get these kind of on the remaster. I'm kind of curious because they're saying, no, not this one of these games here says, remastered in HD, and I'm like, huh? These were PlayStation 3 games. They were HD to begin with. Maybe not as high a definition, which is kind of what I'm hoping for. I personally really liked Uncharted 1 and 2. 3 and 4 were a bit more meh. There was a lot of bombast, but they just didn't hit the nail on the head quite as well for me. But I'm definitely kind of looking forward to trying them out again. And to be honest, that's a great package. Jesus, PlayStation hits prices, with 3 of those type of games. Come on, how can you go wrong? And kind of speaking of kind of remasters, and maybe it's this one that actually does talk about it. Experience the epic conclusion of the God of War series fully remastered in high definition. It was in high definition on the PlayStation 3. In fact, they made a bit of a deal about it, like the graphics, and wow. I love the original God of War trilogy, and to a lesser degree Extension and the PlayStation portable games. I couldn't really get into PlayStation 4 God of War, the Nordic thing. It was grand, but it just didn't do anything for me. So, I don't know how far I got into it. Like, I played a good number of hours, but it just didn't click, so I ended up leaving it. And hey, one of the great things about being an adult, especially when an adult with a lot of games, if the game's not speaking to you, you can put it down and you can put on something else. You don't have to just kind of, oh, well, this is the one I have. As a kid, well, this is the game I have, I gotta play it. So I could move on. I did like God of War 3, but again, a bit like Uncharted, I think God of War 1 and 2 were the peak of the series. So, I'm happy to revisit this one, but it's they should have redone God of War 1 and 2 as well. And then two games that I've never played, and one is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. I don't know anything about this. Doesn't even seem to have Nathan Drake in it, to be honest. Although I do find it funny, and the back of this includes multiplayer and survival mode from Uncharted 4 at Thief's End. So if you got that game already, that multiplayer mode is kind of not new to you. So yeah, I don't know who she looks familiar. Like, was she in the other games? I think she was. Chloe Fraser. That name is even ringing a bell. To be honest, it's been so many years since I played the Uncharted game that I don't. Yeah, I think she was in Uncharted 2 or something. So I guess it's around these people instead of Nate Drake, which makes sense. I have to move on with the series. And then finally, it's the last item. It's Horizon Zero Dawn, the Complete Edition. My understanding is that to a certain degree, this is a bit Breath of the Wildy as well. Everyone's doing these open world, big expensive games. It seems to have done quite well. They've got a sequel coming on PlayStation 5 and whatnot, so it'll be interesting to try it out. I have a funny feeling I actually may have less issue adapting to this than I did to Breath of the Wild, whereas in Breath of the Wild I had the preconceived Zelda formula in my mind. I was looking for the underworld dungeons type of thing, the big, complex interlinked systems, and the shrines and the Divine Beast didn't do that for me. But this is a different game, it's a different franchise, it's not looking to be Zelda, even if it does touch on things like Breath of the Wild or Assassin's Creed or Skyrim or whatever. So yeah, and apparently the complete edition includes the Frozen Wilds expansion and a whole bunch of outfits and stuff. Cool. Sounds good. Anyway, they were my PlayStation pickups for Christmas. And, there was these as well. And the big cube and plenty of stuff to keep me going. Like, the funny thing is, I only finished Hyrule Warriors a couple of, months ago. I'm still playing some of the stuff that I got like last year, the year before. So God knows by the time I get finished all of those, it's going to be 2024. I'll be doing another package and pick up video, and I'll still be finishing those off. Anyway, it's a great complaint to have, and we'll leave it there. But hopefully everyone had a a good new year. Even if it's a little late for that, and we have a good 2022. Bye for now.